For centuries, we've been told what is pure and what is sinful, what is allowed and what is forbidden. Somewhere along the way, we severed the human from the divine. We silenced intuition, shamed the sacred, and buried ancient wisdom. But here, we remember. Welcome to the Forbidden Fruit Podcast, an exploration of the mystical, the intuitive, the cosmic forces that weave our existence. This is a soulful sanctuary where we embrace the strange and unusual and use it as fuel to reclaim the magic, restore the sacred, and discover ultimate truth. Come and share your stories in a space where fierce hearts and fantastical gifts are not only welcomed, but needed. So take a bite. You were never meant to be forbidden. Welcome to the Forbidden Fruit Podcast. We are your hosts, Catherine and Jeanette. Today, we are so excited to welcome an amazing soul sister and master facilitator, Demi Faraday. Demi has the voice of an angel and is a professional singer who brings her vocal activations into the spheres of evolving consciousness and spiritual healing. I have been blessed to know and work with her for many years. She's a pillar of light in the community and creates truly profound healing journeys and sacred ceremonies with grandmother ayahuasca and changa. If you would like to know more about her upcoming sacred circles, especially Lionsgate on 8/8, please reach out to her at rootstorecovery.com. Demi, we are so excited to have you with us today. Thank you.
I'm excited to be here. I really am. And Catherine, it's so nice to meet you. And I've listened to some of your podcasts, and I love how in depth you go and how insightful your experiences and comments are. And so I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. And Jeanette, thank you for that amazing introduction. I was listening to it and thank you.
Aw,
Yeah.
I could go on for hours, Demi. You're amazing.
Well, I could go on for hours about you too. So yes.
We're just going to gush on each other for a while.
Right?
Uh, so, Demi, I would love to hear, and I'm sure our listeners would love to hear as well, what got you started on a spiritual journey?
Okay, so I think I came into this world and I was born into this world on a spiritual journey because I always gravitated towards very spiritual things without even knowing it as a kid, and connecting with plants and trees and flowers and grass, and just just very connected to the earth, very connected with other people, very open to other people, very loving and kind, very compassionate. And I probably seemed a little weird to a lot of kids, and maybe a lot weird to some kids. And so I always grew up knowing that there was something different about me, but being good with it, and
Yeah.
until people would like make fun of me or maybe bully me or something, I was totally fine with people thinking I was different because I knew inherently who I was. And it wasn't until you get into school and then you get into that whole judgment and sort of you're an outcast, you're weird, you're different kind of thing. But I've always been on that journey. And one of the things, I had a couple points in my life. I had really big spiritual awakenings at age 28. A lot of things were happening at 28. I got married. I was in theater in Chicago at the time. And I was just having a lot of experiences, even within the theater and even within working with my characters. And at one point, I got to a place where I would use the tarot deck to help me understand and look deeper into my character. And what was really interesting was it worked.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I would do that, the Celtic cross spread, and ask for the overall thing, the overall plot of the play. And I'll be darned if it didn't lay it out. And I'm reading it, I'm like, yep, that's the plot of the play.
The cards knew the script.
Yes, it was so strange. And then I said, I am
Yeah.
I am this character. I embodied it when I said it to the cards. I am this character. Show me my history, my past, my present, my future. And what was so crazy is it was just the character in the plot of the play.
Wow.
And so it was really cool. And I always thought, I thought for a while about going back and getting my master's degree in theater. And I thought that's going to be my master's thesis is, working
Yeah.
with the tarot deck to develop for character development in theater.
Oh my God, I just got chills like all through my body when you said
Well,
that. That
granted,
would be a fascinating
it would be
thesis.
amazing. Now, this was in 1988, so I'm sure somebody's done that since then. But it really it worked, and not only that, I was doing card readings like that for my friends as well,
Mm.
and they were
Mhm.
saying, "What about my character? Can you give me more insight?" And I would, and they were like, "That's incredible. How does?" And I said, "Just I don't know how it works. Just take the information, use the tool." To develop your character and give the best presentation representation of this character you can in the play. So
Mm.
that was one thing. And then another thing was I started working with shamanic journeying, just drumming. And that was also when I was 28, and that opened up whole new realms for me as well.
Yeah.
Very fascinating. And I would get validation and proof from the journeys that I would do for other people. They would say, "Yeah, that's exactly right. That's right on." Or I would say, "What does I don't know, I kept seeing an elk," and they said, "Oh, that's amazing because an elk," and they would tell me how it related to them. And then also at 28, I went to, for the first time, I went to Kathmandu in Nepal. And
Mm.
oh my Lord. And I went
Yeah.
on a whim. I was actually in Bangkok. And at the time, the smog in the city of Bangkok was so like just so smoggy, and I could barely
Yeah.
breathe. And I would go home at the end of the day feeling like I sucked on the tailpipe of a car.
Oh
And I thought, I have to get
no.
out of this city because this air here is really, I could feel it in my lungs. So I'm walking along Khao San Road, which is the sort of the traveler hippie tourist road.
Yeah.
And I'm looking down and I'm thinking, where am I going to go? I just can only go for a few days. And I look down and boom, there's this Lonely Planet travel book on Nepal. And I said, oh, I'm going to Nepal. So I picked up the book, I bought the book, I went and bought a ticket. I went from Bangkok to Kathmandu, flew into the Kathmandu Valley. It wasn't as overdeveloped as it is today,
Wow.
but I flew into the Kathmandu Valley and I was absolutely smitten. I thought, oh, yeah, 4 days here is not going to be enough.
Wow.
And since that time, I've ended up going back to Nepal three times. And it's always been incredibly magical. And parts of it are just like stepping back in time. This medieval city called Bhaktapur, um, just like stepping back into history. It was an incredible journey. And I had so many things happen there that it was such an awakening, although I wasn't realizing it was a spiritual awakening because, right back in that time, we had maybe magazines. We didn't have the
Mhm.
internet. We had books in a teeny little section of self-help in
Yep.
the bookstores. And so, I was flying blind on for so much of my life and finding resources where I could and just reading voraciously. So that set me on a whole different course, and I
Yeah.
and at that time also before I went to Kathmandu, I had been studying Bharatanatyam, which is a classical dance of South India. And I had been studying that. I ended up studying that for 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
And it was so fascinating because it opened me up to, Hindu culture,
Yeah.
the classical artistic culture of India. And at that point, I got it in my head. Oh, here's a fun story. I got it in my head. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to learn Hindi. So I look and I see that the University of Chicago, and I'm living in Chicago at the time, the University of Chicago has one of the best programs on Hindi in the country.
Oh wow.
So I thought, ooh, and I called
Okay.
and I called their graduate office and I said, I really want to study Hindi. Do you have someone in your program who can teach me or tutor
Mm.
me? So I get a call like about a week later from Daisy. Her name is Daisy.
Daisy.
And this is so great. And so she says, yes, you're looking for a tutor in Hindi. And I said, yes. And I explained, I'm learning the dance. I'm learning the culture. I really want to just go all in with this.
Yeah.
So I go and I'm taking lessons with her. And it was incredible because it wasn't like I was learning a language. It was
Mm.
like I was remembering a language.
Wow.
And even writing it with the script with the Devanagari alphabet, so easy. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what? This is cool, right?
Yeah.
And so I come back. So coming back to Daisy, I find out as I'm tutoring with her name's Daisy Rockwell at the time it was. She's Norman Rockwell's granddaughter. And so I'm thinking, that's
Oh wow.
cool. Yes. Yeah. That was a bit of a sidebar. But the And dance just took me on a whole, it opened up Hinduism for
Mm,
me. I began learning about Hinduism, mantras,
yeah.
chanting, meditating, all that stuff. So I would say at age 28 is really when a lot of things consolidated
Yeah.
for me. And everything leading up to that, just so much, just so much.
Oh my gosh. I know Catherine and I can relate to feeling like very strange and weird on the playground at school and
Mhm.
feeling like we don't really fit in. But I was like you, like I embraced the weird. I loved it. I would go to the library and check out all the books I could find. I love that it's just who you are, right? It's part of your path and it's a journey and there's no destination in the back of your mind. It's just this is life and this is how I live.
Yes, yeah. This is my
Yeah.
perspective. This is
Yeah.
how this affects me, how I feel about these things. So,
Yeah.
hey, all hail the different,
Right?
right?
I tell my clients, wave your freak flag high so we can find each other.
Absolutely. Yes.
I remember years ago when I was first trying to figure out, like, is what I'm experiencing, is this real or am I crazy? And it got to a point where it was like, either I am completely crazy or I might as well just embrace it because, whichever one it is, it's like, I'll actually have fun being crazy because it's not going away. These gifts don't shut themselves down. So you might as well enjoy it and grow from it.
There
Yeah.
was this really great episode, Star Trek: The Next Generation, where Beverly, the doctor Beverly with the red hair, that's her name, I think, right? Beverly Crusher, yes.
Yes,
And
Dr.
so
Crusher.
there was this one episode where everything around her was changing.
Mm,
The universe and everything as she knew, the people that she knew, the job that she had on the starship, everything was totally different. And it was as if she was living in a parallel reality and she thought she was losing her mind. And and everybody around her was thinking she was losing her mind too. And there was this one great moment where she stops and she says, "Wait a minute, if I'm not crazy, the universe must be crazy." What a great
Uh,
line. What a great
yeah.
line.
I think it's very applicable.
Yes, and we have our perceptions, but
Mhm.
our perceptions within certain models that don't embrace our perceptions,
Mhm.
intuitions, knowings, channelings, whatever,
Right.
it's always going to it's in the program. It's in that program to kind of kick that anomaly, what they view as an
mhm.
anomaly, out.
Mhm. Well, then that gets into the matrix metaphor with Agent Smith. Then do you take the red pill or the blue pill, right? And some people want to get plugged back into the matrix. Like there's
Mhm.
all these different layers just in that movie franchise,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, gosh.
Talking about the nature of reality. And the more, at least for me, the more I go on a spiritual path, the more I realize I know nothing. And the more fun it gets
Yes.
because I know nothing and
Hmm.
I'm not attached to any framework or ideology.
Hmm.
There's basically one thing that I follow, and that's, does this feel loving? Is this kind?
Yep,
Is this helpful?
exactly.
And that's about it.
Exactly. That's what the Dalai Lama says. The Dalai Lama, the other Tibetan Buddhist monks, they
Yeah.
always say before you act or say anything, is this kind? Is this necessary?
Yeah.
And it's true. Think
Yeah.
how if we all began to put more of a I don't want to I also want to say filter, but if we put more of a conscious thought into, does this need to be said? Because believe me, I can be the queen of unfiltered comments, which don't always go over well. Sometimes
Me too.
just blow right up in my face. But I'm learning. Yeah, but I love that. And just the whole universe, all of the different leveled layers in the universe. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah. It sounds like as you were at 28 and you were learning this new language, you were traveling to these amazing places, all these things were coalescing together within
Mhm.
you, whether you were aware of it or not. It, I feel like there's a thread that goes back to your voice and your expression
Mm.
and your communication, right? You were saying how it was easy for you to write the scripts
Mhm.
and to speak the language. So uh, I'm curious how that has shown up on your spiritual path, like your voice and the way you express yourself.
Okay, so my voice is when I'm singing and I express myself, or when I'm
Either
just talking. It's so funny.
talking, writing, singing, any of that.
It's funny that you mentioned that because for the last week or so, I've just been thinking to myself, I'm so tired of talking. And I said to Jamie last week, I was like, I don't even know, do I want to do, am I in a good space to go on this podcast with Jeanette and Catherine? Because I don't want to talk. She says, knowing full well how much I love to talk. But I was thinking, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. I don't want to say words anymore.
Mm,
How much easier it would be if people just recognized me by my actions.
yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because our actions are informed by our thoughts, and we can speak and create these beautiful filigree
Mm.
smoke screens
Oh, yeah.
that mask perhaps our intentions and where we're really coming from and what we really
Mm,
want.
mhm.
Whereas actions don't lie, right? The actions speak louder than words.
Yep.
And so I was just thinking to myself, I really just want to be silent. I don't, and I did that when I was in Kathmandu the last time. I was in a retreat where we had silence
Mm.
for 4 days, and it was absolutely blissful.
I would love that so much.
Blissful.
Oh,
And so with the singing just, I've always sang, even when I was a
mm,
kid, and my mom would sing to me. So, when we were in the car. So I grew up with just singing. And then in chorus and plays and all that bands and things, I would just sing, and I love to sing.
yeah.
And so when I began doing ceremonies, I would sing, and there were times when I would be really deep in the medicine. And I don't mean this to sound conceited, but I would be really deep in the medicine, and I'm hearing this voice come out of me, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking, whoa, is this what people hear? And I thought, this is incredible. And again, not to be conceited, because
You're not
I don't
conceited.
feel like I'm just the instrument, right?
Mhm.
The epiglottis and the vocal cords and all that, that's just the instrument that these things are coming through.
Yeah.
And Catherine, as you had overheard Jeanette and I talking in the next room right before we got started here, one of the things that I realized, I've been working with Aya for 17 years. I've been doing ceremonies for 10. Just realized this week, duh. Just realized this week, when I'm hitting tones and frequencies, and I do this in the sound baths too,
Yeah.
that we do, the sound journeys and sound baths.
Yeah.
When I'm hitting those tones and frequencies, I'm actually tuning into multidimensional frequencies. And I never realized that until this past week. And so it's like tuning the radio station. My voice is coming through on this frequency. It's
Mhm.
connecting with the frequency from the other dimensions.
Yeah.
And that's bringing that into the room. And I thought that was really interesting. And we had also been talking about Archangel Raphael out there as well. About 3 weeks, a month ago, I'm sitting on the patio, and I'm not even thinking about anything. All of a sudden, this voice comes through. It says, "You're working with Archangel Raphael now." And they were saying, you're not going to do ayahuasca for several months. You're taking the summer off. You're stepping away from that for the summer so that you can work with Archangel Raphael. And so I thought, oh, that's beautiful. I really like that. Who's Archangel Raphael? And what's his significance or symbolism? So I Google it, and Archangel Raphael, well, you already know this
I
because you
know
work with angels.
all the angels.
Archangel Raphael is, his name means God heals. Raphael means God heals, or God is healing. And just by his presence alone, people are healed. And he is also the archangel where he takes journeyers and guides them and navigates them
Mm.
along their journeys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he says, you have been doing this all along. This is
Yes.
everything you've been doing. You just haven't been aware. So I'm here to tell you this is exactly what you're doing. And interestingly enough, about 2 years ago, I put out into the universe, air quotes, universe, put out into the universe, because working with ayahuasca has its challenges, and it can be hard and challenging and heavy, very heavy,
Hmm.
not just in ceremony, but before, during,
Yeah.
and after. And one of the things a couple of years ago, I said, I really just want to walk into a room and people are just healed just by my being there. I
Yep.
don't want to have to do all of these things. I don't want, don't misconstrue me as lazy.
You've been doing it a certain way for so long and it gets exhausting. When
Yes,
you know that you can tap into a certain frequency, just embody that frequency and that's it.
yes,
That exists. And
absolutely.
yes, we can do that.
Absolutely, we can in an instant. And
Mhm.
so for the last couple of years, that was like, I just really want to just, if this is my vessel that has been created by the divine.
Mhm.
And if I'm resisting and doing something I don't need to, I'm just feeling that my method of healing is to just walk into a room and just be present with people, and they will be healed just by that.
Yes.
And so I've been asking for that, asking for that. That was 2 years ago. And it came around with Raphael coming in and saying, yes, you are doing that. This necessitates stepping away from the plant medicine. This necessitates opening your channel up. And when
Mm.
I say to a higher frequency, I don't mean to say ayahuasca is a lower frequency. It's because it certainly has its super high frequency
Yeah.
moments, but it's also getting down there.
Mhm.
It's getting down there in the muck.
Mhm.
And it's saying, you have done there. You've done that. You've been there. And I tell people, I'm like, I feel like I've done my tour of duty with
Yeah.
ayahuasca already. And I feel like something's coming in. And it wasn't able to come in until I specifically, intentionally said, I am not working with the plant medicine for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And then that's when it started coming in, which I thought was kind of cool. So I don't know where it's leading me. Jeanette,
Well, that
maybe you weigh in, maybe Catherine. I don't know. I'm just going with the flow, as they say.
that's the only way you can, because if you resist, it's not going to happen. um, I love how you were saying how you didn't want to talk anymore. And I think that's a really, well, no, that's a really incredible teaching in that process, because through the process of speaking all language, it doesn't matter what it is, it's limiting. It takes and it tries to, your heart has this understanding of things, and then your brain is trying to understand it, and it does that through language. So by letting go of that, you're able to understand and access this information at such a higher level than
Mhm.
you could if you were to limit it with words.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel
And
like things get in the way.
They can. They
Yeah.
absolutely can. Yes.
well, and I think just like what you were saying with with when you sing, you're speaking, you're putting that frequency out of the intention behind the words in the song, which, you know, puts it just back into the straight frequency of, the universe and how everything comes through, which makes sense of why you're all of a sudden getting all this new information,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you're accessing it in a different way. I love that.
Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah.
saying that. Because another thing, there's the vocal, right? And then there's the
Mhm.
visual. And I don't know if you guys have ever thought this before, but there have been times in my life where I'll catch myself, I'll catch a glance of myself in a mirror or a window somewhere. And I'm looking at myself, and sometimes I just think I am so sick of looking at myself. I am so tired of seeing my own image. I am so tired. I get up and you brush your teeth and you wash your face. I'm like, I'm so sick of looking at my own face.
Mm.
And then this morning in the car on the way here, I
Mhm.
had a little epiphany. I was like, how they talk about how we are mirrors for each other?
Right.
Well, literally, say we had no windows, say we had no reflective surfaces except maybe the surface of a pond or a stream or
Yeah.
the ocean. We have no choice in that case then to
Mm.
be each other's mirrors.
Yep.
And how would we really know
Mhm.
when we're looking at each other and we're seeing a reflection, whatever that reflection is and whatever it needs to be for us at the time of our growth? We wouldn't be looking at each other going, oh, they're prettier than I am. Oh, they're taller and skinnier than I am. Oh, they're, much better looking than I am. Oh, they're this, oh, they're that.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have that frame of reference. We wouldn't know really what we looked like. We're just seeing ourselves through the eyes of someone else. So we wouldn't have that judgment. We wouldn't be like, oh, I wish I had this or I wish I had that. I mean, maybe we would to some extent, but I just feel like if we did away with all mirrors and we were the mirrors for each other and we relied on looking at each other as mirrors
Yep.
and reflecting back to each other, what kind of soul growth and evolution would we be going through? I feel like we would be much more connected to each other in a much more compassionate way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think you're touching right on something that's so prevalent in society, right?
Hmm.
That disconnect, even though we're more connected through the internet, through social media, through technology than we've ever been, well, in our current remembering. And that's another conversation. But the mirrors and the constant like Instagram and the photos and the selfies
Mhm.
and like
Mhm.
photography in and of itself and videography has a whole nother element of what it can offer to the psychology of being human because it takes a snapshot. It takes a moment in time. It creates a distortion
Mhm.
of a truth, right? I studied this. I have a degree in photography. So this was something I really thought about as far as reflections and mirrors and a moment in time and how we can look at photographs or film as a reflection of reality,
Mhm.
right? We think it's real, we think it's true, but it's actually not. It's just that one moment. And the same happens when we're looking in the mirror. We get these reflections that are a distortion of truth, creating more and more disconnect from the earth, from each other, from ourselves. So, yeah, if we're walking around communicating with more silence, communicating from the energy of the heart, frequency, tones, the whole world would be filled with so much more peace, I
I think
think.
so. I think so because in the recognition of all of that
Mhm.
is the understanding that we are one. And
Yeah.
that gets a lot of play. We are one. We are one. But really, when people begin to have that visceral understanding,
Mhm.
that kind of cosmic understanding versus just, oh yes, we are one. I think that we wouldn't have any other choice
Yeah.
but to become more compassionate.
Yeah.
And I think, just like you said, that phrase of we are one, is like cliche. Like a lot of times people say namaste and they don't even really think, what does that mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
What is behind that?
Hmm.
Because that understanding of, in that moment of, the photo or the video that you watch that, is that snapshot. You put your perception of how they mean to you, not who they actually are, but in that exact moment, what
Yeah.
does it mean to you? So if you see someone tall and you've always wanted to be tall, you're going to put that perception that that is that perfect version, but none of that is actual reality. That's just those distortions of separation.
Hmm.
That if you sit there and you really just focus on how do you relate to this, and then you clear all of the words behind it, and you just go back to the moment, that's that true meaning of that one.
Yeah.
And understanding that like what they are is perfect, but also so are you.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. And I
Mhm.
wanted to ask both of you when you say you take a picture, you capture that moment in that second, but it's a distortion.
Always.
So, what is it about that moment? Because we think we're capturing and freezing this one moment, and what is the distortion that you're describing?
So with film or photography, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. I can take a picture of a flower that's completely zoomed in, and all you see is the lines of the petal that reach down. You maybe don't see the stem or the leaves or the thorns. You just see that one little piece of the blossom. Well, the truth is, there's a whole flower, there's a whole bush, there's a whole garden, there's a whole,
Hmm.
whatever
Hmm.
environment. But a photograph just takes that moment,
Hmm.
right? Or if you zoom out, right? Say you're taking a picture of the earth from outer space,
Yeah.
right? You've got the entire globe, or at least one side of it that you can take a picture of. Well, there's also a whole nother side that you're not seeing in that image. There's also, when you zoom in, there's all those day to day activities and music and art and war and tears and laughter and all these things that are happening at the human level. There's all this life happening underneath the surface of the ocean.
Hmm. Yes.
There's all this life happening in the soil and the Amazonian rainforest. The mycelium is its own universe, right? The
Hmm.
internet of the nature kingdom.
Hmm.
I work with mushrooms, so I have to give a shout out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They call themselves the fingerprints of God, right? So, depending on your lens of perspective, right? Are you zoomed in? Are you zoomed out? And how much of the sphere, because I believe the universe is basically a big sphere.
Hmm.
We're all inside of it and we can go outside of it and there's a whole thing. But you can still only see with human perspective your own version of whatever that reality is. And I use the metaphor, I say this one a lot, Catherine, of trying to explain to an ant what a rocket ship is,
Oh, right,
right?
right.
So it's the same with photography and film and the mirror that we see in each other, the mirror that's in that reflection of the mirror itself, the actual mirror, right? So it's all based on what is your lens of perception? What is your perspective? And so, yeah, it gets really interesting when you start thinking about all the ways there are distortions and distractions and what's a real reflection and who am I really,
Mhm.
right? Those are the questions that we ask on a spiritual path or just a human path, right? Why am I here? Why do I exist?
Right.
Right?
I
And
think it's so important though, like when you look at, on social media, the image or the video that you watch, and you see in that moment, it's that perception that whatever it is that you're seeing, it must be perfect.
mm,
You see, I do a lot with moms and families, so you see that, perfect body, that perfect angle of that person. You don't see, you're only the good side. You see the clean house, the whatever,
Yeah.
the perfect moment. But what you don't realize is the 2 seconds before that, what happened and how the person actually doing the image or the video is probably like, I can't even believe that I'm doing this. I can't put this out there. You don't hear those thoughts and those stories behind that because you're only seeing that one moment. You also don't see the mess that and the chaos that happens immediately after. So there's that perception that it is considered perfect because it's put out there and it's expected that you accept it.
yeah.
So, that perception and distortion goes both ways,
Mm-hmm.
and that you always have to be better than. I think it's interesting because before media in general came about that included images,
Mm-hmm.
um, I remember asking as a kid, why did I need braces? Now,
Huh.
so I did a lot of research about the concept of braces and how the technology came about because there were more images of people. So before,
Mm-hmm.
people have always had crooked teeth.
Mhm.
Nobody's had this beautiful smile, so as before media came about with photos being more prevalent, nobody needed and felt self-conscious to have this cosmetic dentistry done.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think about
But
it.
because of that, then the whole idea of what is acceptable, who is allowed to be correct, the idea and the judgment of people, like body size. Body size, the description of what is allowed and culturally and socially acceptable is totally different now than it was 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's changed over time of who is right, who is good, who is valued based on the accessing of these images and these videos
Yep.
and the portrayal that media and society portrays to us. But what is real is not ever been that.
Right, exactly. And it just sets the stage for a lot of frustration, anger, irritation, dissatisfaction, not feeling good enough, not
Mm-hmm.
feeling enough, period. And that's something, well, I was in theater and I was an actress, and that was my major in college, and I did it in Chicago professionally for 10 years. And I ran into that all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
And honestly, it was just like getting hammered over the
Mm.
head
Mm.
constantly with, well, yes, your audition was amazing and you're extremely talented, but they're prettier, so we're going with them.
Yeah.
And that would happen again and again and again. And so that's been a big thing for me to work through, my basing my own sense of
Mm-hmm.
self-worth. But I always, I don't mean to sound conceited when I say this, but I always knew I was super talented.
Yeah.
And so even though I would not get certain things and not get certain parts, what have you, I would always bring myself back to that. I'm like, you know what? I know who I am. I
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm capable of. I know what I can do. This isn't really going the way I wanted, and it's not really working out for me. And am I angry and disappointed? And I'm out here just grinding away and working and working and in production after production after production. And after 10 years, it really takes a toll on you because I turn around and I think, oh my Lord, if I had been working this hard in any other field or career, I would be making bank right now. And I would be so far advanced and so far along. But apparently I chose this timeline. I didn't think that at the time. People weren't even talking like that. But no, it's there then the whole healing process has to come in
Mm.
because I see with myself, and with other people, so much non-acceptance of who they are,
Mhm.
so much judgment on themselves. And eventually, if you're judging yourself, you are going to judge others.
Mhm.
And then that just sets up a whole other spiral. And so, all of these things that we're learning and working on, and I love what you guys are saying and how you're talking about just how you see other people, whether it's through a camera lens or whether it's through the naked eye. All of the beautiful things that you're seeing in people that have nothing to do with these, I call it visual eugenics. That have nothing to do
Mhm.
with these mandates of visual eugenics
Yeah.
on our society or even on our global society.
Yeah. Well, and it also occurs in the spiritual communities,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
So all three of us have been on a spiritual path our whole lives in one
Oh
form
yeah.
or another, right?
Hmm.
And I, as a teacher, as a healer, as a facilitator, as a business owner, right? We wear all these different hats just in that sphere of, okay, I'm on a spiritual journey and I really think I can help some people on their spiritual journey because I've been on a spiritual journey for a long time, right?
Yep.
That's the framework. We teach what we know.
Hmm.
I'm going to teach what I'm
Uh-huh.
an expert in, right? I'm an expert in all these things that are weird and woo and to me fantastical. So going down that path, I've had to really work through some things in myself where there are people that say the words,
Hmm.
namaste. There are people that wear the white dress and take pictures of themselves on the beach and talking in front of a crowd of 1,000 people. And they're traveling all over the world and they're doing these things that on the surface look so amazing and so successful. And like they figured out the cheat code to life,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
I see that in the spheres that I'm in with colleagues and people that have been doing things for a quarter of the time that I've been doing things. And it's really hard to not buy into the distortion.
Yeah.
Like I have to be so anchored in who I am
Yes.
and like you're saying,
Yep.
confident in who I am.
Uh-huh.
It's not conceited
Right.
to know, you know what? I'm real, I'm authentic, and the people that are meant for me will always find a way. And it can be one person or it can be a billion. It doesn't matter because it's all energy
Hmm.
and energy is the currency, right?
Hmm.
And I just have to trust in that process and not buy into all the distortions.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
even in this path, we have to be aware of it. And
Even more so.
even more so because there's a lot of people that make fun of people that like talk to crystals and talk to trees and like to wear oh what is that essential oil patchouli. Whenever I smell patchouli, you guys, I get super angry. I don't know why.
It's
It's supposed to be
an
grounding,
olfactory
but
trigger.
something about patchouli, right? So if somebody's wearing patchouli,
Mhm.
I automatically think, oh, are they fake? Like I have this weird thing about that.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, so that's a different topic, but there's certain things that show up in my system that can be seen as a judgment or as a discernment
Mhm.
that
Oh,
something is a
totally.
distortion,
Yeah.
right? And I've
Yeah.
had to navigate that
Mhm.
on my spiritual path and learning how to be human. And I remember this one time we were talking about Archangel Raphael, and he's one of my main guides. I work with
Mhm.
Raphael. I've worked with him my whole life. Him, right, in quotes, because gender doesn't exist. We're just working with our human framework. They're laughing at me. Okay. I was having a really bad day. It was one of those days where I was in comparison
Oh.
and I was buying into the distortion and I was beating myself up. And I was so angry about what I was seeing out on social media and these people that seemed to be so much more successful. And it wasn't because I wanted to be them. It was because I have so much love and
Mhm.
so much power in my heart to be loving. And I just wanted to shake everyone and say, why don't you want this? It's so good.
Ah.
Why are you buying into this thing over here that is fake and shallow and is pretending to be your friend so that they'll get your money?
Mm.
Like I couldn't
Or
understand this.
whatever goes along with it. Yeah.
So I was really mad. So I went in my closet and I started screaming into one of my pillows. I was so angry till I was hoarse. And then I started yelling at my angels. And I was like, I don't know if I believe in you guys. If you're really here, you show up, you show me something because this is BS and I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm working really hard and I'm getting nowhere.
Mm.
And I was so angry.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, in the middle of my sobbing and my goo dripping from my face, right? I was this was a fun moment. I hear this gong, like a gong right by my ear. There's no gongs in my closet, you guys. Okay. But I hear it right by my ear. And I hear this deep vibration that I knew telepathically was the voice of Archangel Michael. And then I heard another bell gong tone on the other side of me, and another vibration that started weaving with this first vibration. And it was the voice of Archangel Raphael. And then I heard another voice behind me and a gong, and that was Archangel Uriel. And then another one in front of me. I'm going to cry. And that was Archangel Gabriel. And they were introducing themselves to me in a vibration that was cutting through the noise. It was cutting through the distraction and the distortion and the disconnect that I was feeling from my true self, because I was trying to shove myself in a box to make myself easily digestible or acceptable to something out in the external world. And they weren't getting through to me any other way, right? Sometimes
They had to gang up on you.
yeah. And it was like, I'm very clairvoyant, so I'll get visions of things. And sometimes when I'm having one of my human moments, I'll see an image of Archangel Michael with his arms crossed, and he'll just kind of look at me and he's like, "Are you quite finished yet?" He gives me this like moment to be human, waiting for me to shift. Okay. That wasn't happening. I was in one of those places and I was just letting it all go. And those gongs came in and those angelic voices came in through pure vibration. And it was like every cell in my body just suddenly went whoom and went into perfect stillness.
I love it.
Perfect presence.
Oh,
perfect aligned connection.
Love it.
I was breathing it in, pulsing it with my heartbeat. I could feel the web of life holding me, fueling me, lifting me back up out of this like really sticky, gooey place that I was sitting in. And I just took a deep inhale, and it was like, let it all go.
I love that, and it reminds me, I had just listened to Bashar, the channeler Bashar.
Yeah, I love
It's
Bashar.
amazing, incredible. And he was talking about, he said, it was one of those short reels. And he said, all you need to remember is it's not the circumstances that matters. It's my own, what was it? I lost it. It's my own alignment. Yeah. It's not the circumstances that matter. It's my alignment that matters. Something like that.
It's the frequency and the energy and your alignment to your true expression.
Yes. And so wherever it is, whatever is happening, you can, without letting it throw you off, if you bring yourself back to that mantra, and he said, and say it out loud. He goes, people may look at you weird, but when you say it out loud,
yes,
it actually brings all of that alignment in for you. It's not the circumstances that matter. It's my state of being that matters. That's what he said, my state of being. And I've actually been using that for a couple of days, and it works. It really does, because it puts it in perspective. We don't have to be, buffeted about by all of the different things that quote happen to us. Life doesn't happen to us; it happens for us. And I've been experiencing so many shifts where anytime I come up with things that are disappointing or angering or anything like that, I always just think to myself, okay, it's not the circumstances that matter; it's my state of being that matters. And life and everything is happening for me, not to me. It's all happening for me. I'm playing a game I can't lose. And if not this thing, then something better.
Yes.
And I just really want everybody who's listening, try that mantra. Whenever something happens and you get passed over, or you get looked over, or you get rejected, or you get left out, tell yourself again and again and again, if not this, then something better. It will come to you. Something better will come to you.
Yes. I live by that mantra as well.
Yeah.
So
who said that. I forgot who said that.
So good.
I think it was some motivational speaker said
Probably.
that.
Yeah.
But that's not mine. I can't take credit for that, but it works. Have you ever tried that, Catherine?
Absolutely. It's funny because recently we've been talking about something that we're working on manifesting. More on that later.
Okay.
But But it's really interesting because what you're saying is very similar, about how your alignment to whatever the circumstances is the most important thing. It's not about what is happening. It's not about who it is involved in the situation or the details.
It's not the
It's
story.
all absolutely. It's not the story. It's all about you and your sense of presence. And I remember reading the presence process,
Yes.
and it was like the biggest thing that stood out to me is the statement of, "Are you responding or reacting?"
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep.
Of like, is there an emotional charge? Your emotions are going to tell you whatever's coming up. It's like looking through the code book of, okay, well, if you have a strong emotion, then you have a cord there connected to some detail in your history that you have, are being presented in the moment to work through. So, if you don't have a strong motion, um, reaction to a situation, then you know that you're in that moment being present.
Oh.
And there isn't something for you in that moment that you need to work through. You just get the opportunity to be.
And I think that's where a lot of the meditation processes come through. When I did
Yeah.
a lot of the Tibetan Buddhist meditations, also something
Mhm.
that I began doing at age 28, um, they talk a lot about that, right?
Mhm.
So that you are at that point where the emotions don't affect you. You acknowledge it. You pass it. You go, oh, this is coming up. But
Mhm.
everything, everything is conditional, and everything that comes up is just passing through, and it will leave again, and everything changes.
Yeah, I use this technique when I'm meditating, and this is when I'm in groups or meditating for myself, because when I use meditation as a vehicle of energy activation
Mhm.
and to share frequency, and it comes through my voice, through my speaking voice, and also singing when I sing in ceremonies and different things.
Mhm.
And I tell the attendees, when a thought comes in, just imagine it like floating by on the river or floating by on a puffy white cloud.
Oh.
Just imagine it drifting up and out of your awareness.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting when I'm in a meditative state and I can just drop in like in a second. I practiced it for so long. I can go into that place of ultimate presence where I just get to observe
Mhm.
and I feel neutral to everything. It's like, huh, huh. I have no judgment of anything. I'm not like, oh, isn't that beautiful? Or isn't that wonderful? Or oh, isn't that suck? I have none of that. There's no emotional charge. It's
I
just pure observation
That's amazing
and consciousness.
to be able to get to that point.
Yeah. I
This
can't do it all the time.
but you're practicing
I
it, and you
practice that.
will. You will do it all the time.
Yeah.
You'll do it all the time to where it just gets to be automatic.
Yeah.
While you were talking, this thought came in, and it's just completely random and not even related, but I feel like I should say it.
Yeah.
Um, because there was this TV series, it was a sitcom called Dharma and Greg. Did you ever
Yes,
see
I
that?
watched Dharma and Greg. I love Dharma and Greg.
Dharma and Greg, I never got anything on videotape. Yes, the videotape days, but I ordered the complete set of the Dharma and Greg series
Yes.
because I thought it was so brilliant and
Yeah.
so well written. And it really summed up so much of the tension and dichotomy in today's
Mm,
world. The premise of it
yeah.
is that Dharma, who is this hippie love child, who's grown up with all of the not counterculture, alternative culture, homeschooling, home farming, all of that, and she meets Greg, who is from his father owns Montgomery Enterprises, and he's a big captain of industry, and his son Greg is following in his footsteps, and Dharma and Greg meet on public transportation and have this instant attraction, and the whole series is about their relationship, and the characters in it are so great. If you guys should watch it. Whoever's
Yeah, I
listening,
love it.
watch it, and you'll like it or you won't. If you don't watch it. But it's just the characters
Mhm.
are so amazing, and it's all about this. How do we come to understand each other better and live in harmony with
Mm,
and come into this balance together? Not just as conservative, liberal, but also male, female. It's everything
mhm,
in that show. It's all there. And they put it in such a funny way. How can we learn to live with each other? How can we laugh at our mistakes? How can we learn from our mistakes? How can we forgive each other
mhm.
for doing things that seemingly go against our morals, principles, ethics, understanding, etc. I just thought that whole concept was really well encapsulated in that TV show. So,
Oh, totally. And I love anything that pushes us to think outside the
mhm,
box.
mhm.
So I know we were talking about it just just a little sidestep. We were talking about it before we got on the podcast. I would really love for you to share your experience, one of your experiences of miraculous healing that's
Oh,
outside of the traditional structure of medicine and healthcare and religion and all those things. Just
okay.
kind of segueing into that.
I will. And I also want to come back to something you said, Jeanette, before I launch into that one, about how we look at, and I do this too, right? We look at people doing healing work, and then you see
Mm.
these people kind of coming on board or stepping into this arena, and you think, I've thought it too. I'm like, I've been doing this work for decades.
Mhm.
And how are you coming in when you've put in like 3 or 4 years?
They took a weekend
And
certification.
to their credit, it can be lots. It can look lots of different ways. But that was
Yes.
something I wrestled with,
Mhm.
and I found it very helpful for myself to not even judge that and to
Yeah.
just say, you know what? Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, I've been doing this for 20, 25 years, but you have been doing this for 3 or 4, but there's something, there's a spark, there's a light, there's
Yeah.
an impetus working through you, a connection to the divine. And so I just have to trust that, and go with that and say, okay, that's great, beautiful. Many blessings. Do your work. If you're healing and serving people and doing what's in the
Mhm.
highest and best interest for all,
Yep.
vaya con Dios. And, one of the things that I have really become aware of, and I know you guys have too, because we talk about all the star children, and
Mhm.
apparently in the last couple of years, and all children being birthed into this world
Mhm.
for the next 10, 20 years, even
Mhm.
super strong star children, and the kids that came before them, well, let's see, it went back to indigos, and then it
Mm.
went back to crystal, and then it went to rainbow, and then it went to, now I think, star child. You probably know better
Yeah, I
than
think
me
you
on
got it
that.
mostly. Yeah.
And
There's
so,
diamond, yeah.
yes, and so they keep
This all goes
stepping
back to the work
in.
of Dolores Cannon, and yeah.
She's,
Mhm.
yeah,
So anybody
Dolores
that wants to know more
Cannon.
about Star Children, go read about Dolores Cannon and the books that she's written, and it gets really fascinating. But
So when I hear about this, and I'm hearing it all over the place,
mm,
YouTube, internet, everywhere, and I feel it too. It's
yeah,
not just me hooking into that teaching or that sort of, this is what's happening, because I'm not one. I'm really not one to get suckered in. And I,
I know. I love that
I'm
about you.
not. I'm not at all. And but I believe that 100%. And so these little kids, think about this: some little 5-year-old is going to come up to us, 4 or 5 years from now, and be like, "Oh yeah, you want to talk to the people on the Pleiadian Council? Here, sit here. I'm going to give you this rock, and you're going to be like, how the heck do you know that? That's amazing." So I think that for me, it's been
Yeah,
understanding that we all have our journeys. We're all having our awakenings at our own times. Some
yeah,
are really accelerated, happening very quickly. And I just think that looking at the gift, what is the gift? And how is the gift being shared? And is this for the betterment of the collective? And is this the betterment for the human race, therefore the galactic
hmm,
races that are out there? And that's one thing that brings me back to center, because I know I'm not the
yeah,
only person that can get into that space where it's like, well, hey, wait a sec.
yeah.
I've been working and working and working at this, and you're just
Hmm.
stepping in, you young whippersnapper. you know, but that's my process too. And I go through my own processes, and Lord knows I'm not perfect. Okay.
Well, and I've had to learn too, just to add a tiny bit onto that, that not only are people coming in their own way and in their own pace, but even if I perceive something as being a disservice, if I perceive something as being a harm to someone or
Mhm,
something,
mhm.
right? And this is what working with plant medicine has really taught me, and meditation, to be fully present and neutral and not attached. Because no matter what happens is exactly what's meant to happen.
Mhm. Yes.
Like, I might think, oh man, they just got really messed up by working with that teacher, or oh man, that teacher is not being very authentic, or oh man, that was a really powerful thing, but maybe not the way I would have done it,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
so zooming out and realizing that everything is allowed in the garden of life, everything is a buffet, and we get to choose if we want pudding or shrimp or cake or pie or whatever, right? We get to choose. And that is the power of creation creating itself,
Yes.
the power of choice.
Mhm.
So who am I to judge anything?
That's right. That's
And
right.
that's what I end up centering in.
Yep.
So
Thank you for saying that
yeah.
counterbalance.
Do
Yep.
you want to add to that too, Catherine?
Well, and it's so interesting because for a long time, I thought my husband was considered a galactic snail because he was taking forever to learn
Yeah.
to grow and to, integrate these experiences we were having. Because for me, what I was experiencing, and we'd have something happen. And, I would get it, I would go through my process and I would move forward. And it felt like he didn't change. But what I realized is, oh, because that's my perception of how he had to learn it. That was all on me. But as I let go of that more, I realized the ways in which he has been growing, but it just looked completely different. So I couldn't even recognize it. So my perception of that outward looking, again, the distortion that I held was saying that it had to be a certain way. And that's how you define it as growth. You define that as experience and understanding.
Yep.
And realizing that he was doing it,
In his way.
in his way, and it was perfect because it was exactly the way that it needed to be for him. And as I've been allowing that to happen, and I say allowing is basically me stop arguing about the way that he's doing it because it's perfect for him.
Yep. Exactly.
Then I'm realizing how far he's actually come without me even noticing,
Yeah.
which is ultimately humbling. But again, that goes back to that unity thing because, and I like to say when I work with people that, the more that you come back to yourself, which is the hardest thing to do, you come back to yourself and you let go of the distortions and the perceptions and the understandings that you have from your head, and you focus on the energy behind it from your heart,
Yes.
then you see the true unity. You see the connection and you see the cords that go out to everyone and how there's this web of interrelationships to everything. Whether it's the table, the computer, the person next to you. You see the interrelationships and how they work, and you see how it is all for your benefit because of you, created by you, and there's nothing outside of you. And that's that whole we are one that you were talking about earlier. It's that same concept, but you can't put that into words. You have to experience it and feel it and be it through that presence.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
when you get out of the head and into the heart, and that's hard for me, I'm a very
Oh yeah, most
head
people can't.
person a lot of the times. But when you can get out of the head and into the heart, the ego dissolves.
Yeah.
And the heart has its own truth, right? That's
Mhm.
very separate from the head, although they do work together. But yeah. Yeah. So the ego and it's the same thing coming back to the whole, how are you doing this and the judgments that we create and all of that. That's all ego.
Oh yeah.
And I hate that.
Oh yeah.
I see that in myself because I'm like, oh, that's my ego. I'm feeding it. I'm feeding it good.
The ego is necessary, right? When there's a bear coming at you, you need the ego to say, oh my gosh, run.
Sure.
Right? The
Sure.
ego helps us perceive danger in our reality, and it helps us to survive as a human being. Right? It has its place. And its whole job is to keep us safe and help us survive. Okay, so as long as we understand that and we don't make decisions about life from that place of fear,
Yeah.
right? That's all we have to understand. And for me, even the mind, even the idea that everything is happening for me, that still feels like a mind concept. When I go into my heart, I feel everything is happening through me.
Oh.
Happening through me. And I work with that when I work with manifesting and energy alchemy. I think about, okay, whatever is within me is flowing through me to me. Everything that shows up out here, it flows through me first, through my perception of what is, through my emanation and my embodiment, my magnetism, right? My being. And then it shows up out here to either match my resonance or my non-resonance.
Well, and here's an interesting thing too, because the light that's coming through you and that's shining through you, and Catherine, I see you're nodding your head and you know exactly what she's talking about. And when you were talking just there, I had this visual overlay of this beautiful stained glass window. Like you're this beautiful stained glass window. And when the light is coming through you, it's creating all of these beautiful frequencies of light. It's all of these colors, and the stained glass windows are so beautiful to me because they're fractals.
Yep.
And somebody had the idea to create this fractalized window of colored glass that comes together in the shape of a rose or the shape of the sun or the shape of, going traditional church, Jesus and Mary and the different saints. Somebody had the idea. How do you, it says to me, they probably had a psychedelic experience
Yes.
where it was fractalized.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, how do I recreate this? Let's break some glass. Or it happened accidentally. And they're like, oop, I dropped this glass. Oh, wait. And then they start thinking, well, I can put these together,
And look
so
how the light shines through and
yes.
creates a different color and creates a different web and a pattern and yeah.
So just the whole concept of stained, and I've always been fascinated with stained glass windows, but it was only recently where I'm thinking, oh, I have a totally new take on them. This is really great.
When we were coming up with the logo for the podcast, I wanted there to be an apple that was realistic, and then half of it was a psychedelic stained glass window melting off the side of the apple.
Oh,
So it's so
cool.
funny that you're because we
Yeah.
wanted to talk about perception
Uh-huh.
and the fractal nature of the universe and how when we take a bite of the so-called apple, the forbidden fruit, right? It's the apple of wisdom that gives you access to the fractal nature of the universe and all these different levels of perception.
That's so cool.
So that's so
I love it.
fascinating and synchronistic that you just said all.
I kind of wonder back in the, who knows what vegetation was happening back in the very, very ancient times, but I wonder if the whole mythology of the Garden of Eden wasn't necessarily an apple off a tree, but a mushroom on the ground that
That's what I
looked like
think.
an apple that fell off a tree. And Eve is like, let's, blame Eve, right?
He's like, this mushroom's going to be good.
Eve, you're a no good woman. Picking up fruit off the ground. But it would be like this mushroom that looked like an apple, and she plucks it and she's like, oh, an apple. And then all of a sudden she's launched. So I don't know, just a theory. I could be wrong.
I love that so much.
So
Thinking about traditional religious structures, I want to touch on your story before we
right.
run out of time.
Okay, I know. Sorry, and I'm
I
gonna
love it.
probably talk fast. I guess if I haven't been talking fast, I just get so excited when we talk about things like this, though, and when there's this sort of connection and this ability to feed off of ideas. And Catherine, I hope you feel like you've been able to say enough and jump in there enough. You're not sitting right
No,
next
this
to
is
me, so
perfect.
I'm always like, hey.
It's so much easier if you're in person. Yes.
And so please jump in or anything. I hope you haven't felt left out there.
No problem.
Okay. So, yeah, when I was 5, we had, I was living in Palatine, Illinois, and we had this pool, what do you call them? The portable pools or what? Above ground pools that you could buy at the store. And it wasn't very deep. And it was set up, and in the yard, in the backyard, there were 2 posts on either end of the yard. They were laundry posts. So they were big, tall, wooden things. And then the one had another post that buffeted it to hold it up. So when laundry was hanging, it was strong and reinforced. And because it was right by the pool, my sister and I used to climb up on that buttress part and jump off from there into the pool. Well, on this one end of the clothing line was an old rusty dog chain that had been wrapped around it, and I guess nobody could get it off, so it just stayed there. Yeah, a rusty dog chain.
This sounds great.
And you know how you push that little lever down to attach it to a collar or whatever? That part had broken off. So essentially it was just a hook. It was just an old rusty hook hanging there. So yours truly, I'm in the pool by myself, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to jump on the post and jump in the pool. Well, I get up there, and I guess it was a windy day. The post, like the hook, blew under my armpit just as I'm jumping into the pool, and it ripped open my armpit, and I don't even know what happened. My mom, the way my mom tells it, she heard me screaming, and she comes out and she just sees me in the pool screaming, and the pool is just filled with blood. And of course, my mom is trying not to faint. She faints very easily. And so she was like, oh my God. She grabs a towel and she runs out, trying not to faint, scoops me up, wraps me up in a towel, lays me on the bathroom floor. And I'll never forget the tile on that bathroom floor because I looked at that tile for a long, long time. And she had me wrapped up close, like swaddling. to close the wound. But she said when she looked at it later, it was like she could see into my chest,
Oof.
into my chest cavity. I know it's so grisly and grim. Sorry,
So awesome.
sorry to those who are squeamish. And I just probably was in shock, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm just and I'm totally trusting her, and she's got me on the bathroom floor, and she calls my dad at work, and you know, so he comes home, he gets home about an hour later, and they call the Christian Science. I was raised as a Christian Scientist practitioner, and what they do is they pray. And so she went to work right away to start praying, and my dad and my mom were praying. It was so funny because when my mom was waiting for my dad to get home, trying not to pass out, she would look at me and she would say, Demi, Demi, because apparently my eyes kept closing. And she's like, Demi, Demi. And I would open my eyes and she was like, can you give us a smile? And I'm like, and I do, right? Because I'm like, oh, she's so scared. And I'm thinking, you know, it's okay, Mom. Here's my smile. I'm going to be okay. Don't you worry. And it was so interesting because we just sat on the floor and time passed and my dad got home. And of all of the things, when my dad got home, I was so sad because we were supposed to, a couple days later, we were supposed to take a bus trip down to Springfield, Illinois. And I was like, does this mean I can't go to Springfield now? And my dad's like, no, sweetie, we're probably going to have to make that trip another time. But anyway, the practitioner said, get a butterfly bandage, bandage her up. I mean, I still have the scar under my armpit, but my mom said that once the practitioner started praying, the bleeding stopped very quickly. And that they put a butterfly bandage on me and they kept my armpit closed. And she said within a couple of days, it was almost completely healed. Like I said, I still have that scar. She said, but you would never have known that it had been so violently ripped open like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
The power of prayer and energy work.
Yeah.
So amazing.
And I have to think, you know, your team, right? They say we all come in with teams and guides. I 100% believe that all of my guardians were there protecting me.
Do you remember if you had any kind of visions or
I
recollections?
didn't. No, I
Okay.
didn't. It wasn't anything like that. Honestly, I think I was in shock for a long time, but I didn't know I was in shock. And then I think it felt very important at the time to just stay present and stay awake. And that was all I focused
Yeah.
on. Just stay present, stay awake, stay calm, stay still. And that was really what I focused on. Yeah.
So no doctors, no stitches, no hospital stays.
No,
Wow.
no. And oh my gosh, you know, today, if something like that happened, there would be people screaming
Yeah.
about it. But it's every method of healing, I believe, is everybody's choice, right? Whatever works. There are so many routes to the infinite. There are so many ways to our own healing and growth. Um, if it works, it works.
Right.
That's why they say healing happens in mysterious ways.
Yeah,
Because it's not, you know, if it happens like for you in that particular situation, it worked that way. But maybe for another person, it might work slightly different.
exactly.
Maybe for them, it would take a little bit longer to heal.
Mhm.
Or maybe they wouldn't need a scar. Whatever it is perfectly meant for you is what you're going to get. So even if, you know, if you've got some expectation of, oh, okay, so now that we have your example of the way it is, you know, so then another person may have to experience it the same way to believe that it's true and to believe that it's real.
Mhm.
But it always happens exactly the way that you need it so that you learn your lesson through it.
Right.
Whatever that lesson is.
Yeah.
You know, not a lesson of like, oh, you did something wrong, so you need a consequence, not like that kind of lesson, but just there was some sort of soul growth that you needed to experience through having that physical thing. Or maybe it wasn't even for you, maybe it was for your mom or your dad. Or someone else that was in that healing situation with you that needed to experience that in order to move forward. So maybe you were just the helper in that situation.
I was taking one for the team.
Right?
As usual. Happy to help, happy to help. But therein too brings us back to the concept of the stained glass window. No piece of a stained glass window is going to be exactly the same. And the light will come through in the way the light comes through, but we're just like a kaleidoscope.
Mhm.
You know, each of the pieces falls into place and creates a different pattern every time, and it's never repeated. Just like us, we're here and we do our own thing. We're our own stained glass windows.
Mhm.
And the light shines through us in our own ways,
Mhm.
according to the ways we have assembled the glass pieces.
And
Mhm.
according to the time of day or the time of night,
Yes, that's
right?
true.
The
That's
light,
true.
not only do we change, but our environment, our external, the way the light shines through changes to based on an infinite number of possibilities,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So it's
Mhm.
always changing, always morphing, and yet we have this framework, at least as human beings, of being in this body, right?
Yes.
Having this vehicle that we drive around for a while, our meat suit, and then the light of creation, whatever that is, comes through in all these different ways, and like just looking at your story, like look at all the things that come together to make you exactly who you are right now in this moment, sitting in this chair, right?
Yeah.
So many experiences we didn't even touch on, right? Psychedelic experiences and travel experiences and your journeys in Egypt and your learning more about channeling,
Yes.
right? So many things. And it's so fun. Like it never ends.
And you know, I was thinking this week too. Oh gosh, you know, a lot of things came to me this week. A lot of things have come to me this week. But one of the things I want to do is I want to get make a picture with a photograph or something. I don't know, but I want to get it and put it on the wall, and it just says in big, huge letters, "Infinite possibilities." I want
Yes.
to put that at you know at the wall where my bed faces. So every morning I look at that and I just think, infinite possibilities.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that is a beautiful place to stop because we
Okay.
are coming up on time. I wish we could talk more. We can have you on again if you'd
Oh,
like.
I would
That
love
would be
that.
fantastic.
I would love that. And thank you both. Thank you both. So seriously, I just get so excited. I get so excited. I'm like, oh yeah, yes. So thank you guys so much for feeding me and for giving me
Yeah.
this opportunity to speak a little bit more
Yeah.
about you know, stuff.
We love all the stuff.
Oh, thank you. Me
And thank you
too.
for being so open
Mhm.
to it. I just love it all. If
Mhm.
anyone wants to reach out to you and find out more about sacred circles or music or sound healings or any of the things that you're doing, would you like to share your website?
Sure. My website is Roots to Recovery, and it's Roots, the number two, recovery, roots to recovery. And it's not, it's interestingly not specifically geared towards recovery in the sense of rehab, substance, that kind of thing. When I initially named my website years and years ago, Roots to Recovery, it was recovering our authentic self. What are
Mm.
the roots to recovering who we are, which goes up to and including our galactic family, our star races, and then I'm also available on Instagram, which is my name, Demi Faraday. Is it at Demi Faraday? Is that how
I
Instagram does
think
it?
so.
Okay. At Demi
Yeah.
Faraday, Faraday. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Demi. And thank you,
Mhm.
Catherine, for always, always sharing, showing up. And I love you, sweet sister. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Jeanette.